Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever feel like you're playing a game you don't fully understand, like especially when it comes to office politics?
Oh, totally.
Or even just like negotiating a better deal? Well, today we're diving into Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
This book is
Interesting choice.
yeah, it's a bit controversial, but also super insightful, I think.
For sure.
And we're going to see if we can decode some of those unwritten rules
Yeah.
that we all kind of sense are there, but maybe don't always know how to navigate.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Decode those unwritten rules. I like that.
So we'll be looking at a bunch of historical examples today.
Awesome.
We'll be analyzing the psychology behind these power dynamics.
Sounds good.
And hopefully we'll give you some practical takeaways too.
Cool.
So you can level up your own game.
I like that. Level up your game. That's great.
Thanks.
Greene's work, I mean, it can feel a bit Machiavellian at times, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think at its core, it's about recognizing these patterns of influence that have existed for centuries.
Yeah.
Not necessarily endorsing them.
Right. It's more about awareness than actually becoming
Totally.
some kind of evil mastermind.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to go full Machiavelli on people.
Exactly. So let's jump into it with law number 1. Never outshine the master.
Okay.
So to illustrate this, Greene uses the story of Nicolas Fouquet.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. So this guy was the finance minister to King Louis XIII.
Oh, wow.
Like a pretty powerful guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, to make a long story short,
Okay.
he throws this like insanely extravagant party.
What?
Yeah. And it completely overshadows the king.
Oh, no.
And you know what happens next, right?
Uh-oh.
He ends up in prison for the rest of his life.
Wow. Talk about a career-limiting move.
Right. Like, whoops.
Yikes.
So what's the real lesson here, you think? Like for someone maybe starting a new job today?
I think the main lesson is that even the most powerful people can feel threatened, you know?
Yeah.
If someone seems to be surpassing them,
Right.
and Fouquet's downfall wasn't really just the party,
Right.
it was the perception that he was becoming more powerful than the king.
Oh. So it was all about appearances.
Exactly. Perception is everything.
That's interesting.
So in a modern context, you know, think about how you present your ideas at work.
Okay.
Are you always trying to prove that you're the smartest one in the room?
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes.
Or are you finding ways to make your boss feel valued and respected?
Oh, that's a good point. I never really thought about it that way.
It's a subtle but important distinction.
So you're saying that instead of like bragging about how I single-handedly saved the company millions,
Right.
it might be smarter to say something like, oh, you know, building on your vision, I was able to,
Exactly.
and make it more about them.
Yeah, make it a collaborative effort.
Not just me being a superstar.
Right.
Okay, that's really good advice.
It's not about diminishing your accomplishments at all.
Right.
It's about framing them in a way
Right.
that reinforces your boss's authority. Remember, even people in positions of power often deal with a lot of insecurity.
No, that's true.
So by acknowledging their expertise, you're actually strengthening your own position.
Wow. I'm already seeing how these laws are about so much more than just manipulation.
Totally.
It's like you said, it's about understanding the psychology behind power.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's move on to law number 2.
Okay.
This one is never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies.
Interesting.
I know, right? It's a bit ruthless.
A little bit, yeah.
Greene talks about this Emperor Sung,
Okay.
and he basically bribed his potentially rebellious general.
What?
Yeah, he was like, hey, instead of fighting me, why don't you just retire comfortably?
Wow.
And it worked.
So he turned his enemies into well-fed allies.
Exactly.
That's a bold move.
So what do you think the takeaway is here?
Well, I think this example shows how friends can actually sometimes hold you back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they can get complacent or even envious of your success.
Right.
And they might unintentionally sabotage you or like not give you the honest feedback you need.
Oh, that's interesting.
But enemies, especially former enemies, they're often highly motivated to prove their loyalty.
Okay.
They'll work harder and be less likely to betray you.
I never thought of it that way.
And they can even provide valuable insights.
Like constructive criticism.
Exactly. They can challenge you in a way that your friends might not.
Okay, so are you saying that sometimes tough feedback, even if it's harsh, can actually be more valuable
Absolutely.
than praise from a friend who's just trying to be nice?
I think so, because it comes from a place of wanting to see you improve.
That makes sense.
Now, I'm not saying you should actively go out and make enemies.
Right, of course not.
But just don't dismiss people who disagree with you.
Yeah.
They might actually end up being your most valuable teachers.
That's a really good point.
So keep an open mind.
Okay, this is really making me rethink some things.
Good, I'm glad.
Okay, let's move on to something a bit more lighthearted. Greene talks about the art of deception, which he calls smoke and mirrors.
I like that.
He uses this example of Yellow Kid Weil, who was this notorious con artist.
Okay.
And he used these elaborate distractions. Oh, like once he hired a fake boxer to like start a fight and distract everyone while he pulled off his scheme.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know, right?
So he was like a master of distraction.
Exactly. But then Greene also argues that the best deception is often the simplest.
Really?
Yeah, like a bland and familiar front that lulls people into a false sense of security.
Oh, so it's like hiding in plain sight.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So what do you think about that?
Well, it makes sense. Think about it like a magician.
Okay.
They distract you with one hand, while the other hand is doing the real work.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
We're naturally drawn to the spectacular, the dramatic. So something simple and ordinary can be really disarming.
Right, because it doesn't trigger our suspicion. So are you saying that we're all being constantly deceived by this smoke and mirror stuff?
I think to a certain extent, yes.
Even if we don't realize it?
Especially if we don't realize it.
Wow.
Think about advertising, marketing, social media.
Oh, yeah.
We're bombarded with these carefully crafted images and stories that are designed to appeal to our desires and insecurities.
It's like we're all living in this giant con game.
In a way.
And Greene is giving us the tools to see through it all.
I think that's a good way to put it.
So how can we avoid being taken in by all these illusions?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
The first step is awareness.
Okay.
Start paying attention to the subtle ways you're being influenced. Question the motives behind the messages you're receiving.
Like, don't just take everything at face value.
Exactly. Look for the hidden agenda,
Okay.
the subtle manipulation,
That's a good point.
and most importantly, develop your own critical thinking skills.
Okay, so awareness and critical thinking.
Those are your best weapons. Don't leave home without them.
Okay, speaking of image, Greene's next law is all about reputation.
Oh, yeah.
He uses P.T. Barnum as an example.
The circus guy.
Yeah, the famous showman.
Okay.
He was known for his outrageous hoaxes.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and deceptions, but people loved him for it.
He did?
Yeah, he even admitted to some of his tricks, and people still flocked to his shows.
Wow.
And then there's the story of Coriolanus.
Who was that?
He was this Roman general who is known for being brutally honest.
Oh, okay.
And he refused to play the political game and ended up being exiled.
Wow, so it's like two totally opposite approaches to power.
Yeah, it seems like it, right?
Yeah. Barnum understood that reputation is social currency.
Interesting.
He knew how to create a compelling narrative.
Right.
Even when he was caught in a lie, his reputation as a master showman remained intact.
But Coriolanus was too honest,
I guess you could say that.
and it backfired on him.
He underestimated the power of perception.
So what's the lesson here?
I think the lesson is that reputation matters a lot.
Okay.
Whether we like it or not, people judge us based on how they perceive us.
So are you saying we should all be master manipulators like P.T. Barnum?
Not necessarily. I think it's more about understanding the importance of crafting a public image that aligns with your goals and values.
Okay.
So think about your own online presence.
Like social media.
Yeah, are you projecting the persona you want others to see?
That's a really good point. I never thought of my social media profiles as part of my reputation.
But they are.
Okay, that's something to think about.
For sure.
All right, let's talk about money.
Okay.
Greene's next law is strategic generosity. Money as a weapon.
Interesting.
I know, right? He talks about this con artist, Victor Lustig, who actually sold the Eiffel Tower.
What?
Yeah, not once but twice.
No way.
And then there's the Rothschild banking dynasty.
Oh, wow.
Known for their incredible wealth and influence.
Right.
So what's the connection here?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that generosity can be an incredibly powerful tool when it's used strategically, of course.
Okay, so it's not just about giving money away.
Right.
It's about understanding the psychology behind it.
Exactly.
So like how a well-timed gift or act of kindness can really disarm someone.
Even a potential enemy.
So it's about leveraging generosity to build alliances, create goodwill, and even influence decisions.
Exactly.
Wow, this is really making me rethink my whole approach to money.
Good. I'm glad it's getting you thinking.
Okay, let's move on to a law that seems a bit counterintuitive.
Okay.
It's law number 6, the art of surrender, turning weakness into strength.
That's an interesting one.
Right. Is Greene suggesting that we should just give up when things get tough?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He uses this example of the Athenians conquering Melos, where the millions refused to surrender and were totally destroyed.
Oh, wow.
And then there's this Chinese fable about a king who was advised to leave a small enemy kingdom unconquered.
Wow.
As a reminder of his power.
Oh, I see.
So it's not about giving up entirely.
Well, okay.
It's about recognizing that sometimes a strategic retreat is more effective.
Then, like, charging headfirst into battle.
Exactly.
So it's like a game of chess.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to sacrifice a pawn to win the game.
Precisely. Surrender, when used strategically, can buy you time to regroup to plan your next move.
So it's about choosing your battles wisely and knowing when to yield in order to ultimately win the war.
Exactly. Sometimes the most powerful move is to appear weak.
Wow, that's a really interesting concept.
It's all about strategy and deception.
Okay, onto a law that I find particularly intriguing.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's law number 7, the power of absence and presence.
Oh, interesting.
Greene talks about this chess prodigy, Bobby Fischer,
Oh, yeah, I know him.
and how he would sometimes deliberately throw games.
What? Why would he do that?
Just to unnerve his opponent.
Oh, wow, that's next level.
Right, and then there's this tale about a ruler who disappeared for a while.
Okay.
And when he came back, his people appreciated him so much more. It seems like this law is about controlling how and when you appear.
Yeah, you've got it.
So sometimes it's better to step back from the spotlight
Exactly.
to create a sense of mystery and anticipation.
Yes. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say.
So are you saying that constant exposure can actually diminish your power and influence?
I think that's a fair assessment.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
It's like a limited edition product.
Oh, yeah.
Or a celebrity who's rarely seen in public.
Right.
Their scarcity increases their value.
Okay, so strategically controlling your visibility can actually make you more desirable.
Precisely.
Wow, this is blowing my mind.
Good. I'm glad we're having this discussion.
Okay, let's wrap up this first segment with law number 8,
Sounds good.
the importance of adaptability.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, Greene uses the example of this Spartan general Pausanias,
Okay.
who adopted Persian customs and was actually accused of treason.
Nope.
And then there's this philosopher Campanella,
Okay.
who survived persecution by writing a whole book opposing his own beliefs.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
Ezra was playing the long game.
Yeah, it seems like adaptability is key for navigating these complex power dynamics.
Absolutely.
So what's the main takeaway here?
Well, I think it's about knowing when to blend in and when to stand out,
Oh, okay.
when to conform and when to defy.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about being a chameleon.
Right. Adapting to different situations to
Somebody up in-
achieve your goals.
That's the key.
This has been a really insightful discussion so far.
It has.
We've covered so much ground already,
I know, right?
but we've only just scratched the surface of the 48 laws of power.
There's so much more to explore.
We'll be right back with more insights and analysis, so stay tuned.
Can't wait. Welcome back. It's amazing how these laws, you know what I mean, they can be applied to so many different situations.
Right. It's like Greene is giving us this secret decoder ring
Mm-hmm.
for understanding power dynamics.
Oh, totally.
And not just in like ancient history,
Right.
but even in like modern day marketing and stuff.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Okay, so let's keep going.
Okay.
Law number 9 is win through your actions, never through argument.
Interesting.
Greene uses this example of the Athenians.
Okay.
They were trying to persuade the Melians to surrender.
During the Peloponnesian War, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And they did this by appealing to the Melians' self-interest
Interesting.
instead of like getting into this big philosophical debate.
So they were practical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's the modern day equivalent of this?
Well, I think instead of trying to win people over with words, you should focus on demonstrating the value of your ideas through your actions.
Oh, so it's like actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
How would this apply to like a disagreement at work?
Okay, so let's say you have this brilliant idea,
Hmm.
but your colleagues aren't convinced.
Okay.
And instead of getting bogged down in a big argument,
Right.
you could build a prototype
Oh, okay.
or gather some preliminary data.
To support your idea.
Yes, let your work speak for itself.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's more persuasive.
Okay, law number 10 is infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
That one sounds a bit harsh.
Right. What about supporting our friends when they're going through tough times?
Well, I think it's about finding a balance.
Okay.
Of course we should be there for our friends.
Right.
But there's a difference between offering support and allowing yourself to be dragged down by their negativity.
So it's about protecting your own mental and emotional space.
Exactly. You need to set boundaries.
Okay, I can see.
You have a limited amount of energy, right?
Yeah.
So choose to invest it in relationships and environments that uplift you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Don't let negative people drain you.
Okay, law number 11 is about delegation. Learn to keep people dependent on you.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Greene uses the example of this explorer, Balboa,
Okay.
who insisted on doing everything himself and ended up alienating his crew.
Oh, wow.
But shouldn't we be striving for independence?
I think this law is more about building a strong team. It's about recognizing that true power comes from having talented people who rely on your guidance.
So it's not about micromanaging.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Think about a successful CEO. They don't do everything themselves.
Right, they delegate.
Exactly. They surround themselves with experts and empower them to do their best work.
So you become the indispensable hub.
Yes, the connector, the visionary.
Nothing like that.
It's about leveraging the talents of others to achieve something greater.
Okay, law number 12 is use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim.
That sounds a bit sneaky.
Right, like we're being encouraged to use kindness as a weapon.
Well, I think it's more about recognizing the power of unexpected generosity,
Okay,
especially when it comes from someone you wouldn't expect.
okay,
Think about it. If someone's always trying to sell you something, you're going to be suspicious.
right.
But if they do something genuinely kind or helpful, it disarms you.
Oh, I see. It makes you more likely to trust them.
Exactly.
So it's about using generosity strategically.
Yes, but not in a manipulative way.
Okay.
It's about building genuine trust and rapport.
Okay, I like that.
It's a subtle but powerful tool.
Okay, this next law I think is super relevant in today's world.
Okay, what is it?
Law number 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude.
Interesting.
Greene tells this story about a Corinthian ambassador
Okay.
who tried to persuade the Athenians to help them by reminding them of all the favors they had done for them in the past.
Yeah.
And it totally backfired
Yeah.
because people are inherently motivated by self-interest.
Oh, I see.
So when you ask for help and you appeal to someone's sense of obligation,
Yeah.
it can create resentment.
Right, they feel like they're being manipulated.
Exactly.
But if you can frame your request in a way that benefits them, they're much more likely to help willingly.
So it's about creating a win-win situation.
Precisely.
Okay, law number 14 is pose as a friend, work as a spy.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Greene uses the example of this art dealer, Joseph Duveen,
Okay.
who would meticulously research his clients
Okay.
to understand their tastes and desires.
So he was gathering intel.
Exactly.
Okay.
This one seems a bit manipulative, though, don't you think?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that information is power.
Okay.
The more you know about the people you're dealing with, the more effectively you can communicate with them.
And build relationships.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not about being a creepy stalker.
No, of course not.
It's about being observant and using that information to connect with people on a deeper level.
Precisely.
Okay, law number 15 is pretty intense.
Oh boy, what is it?
Crush your enemy.
Totally. Whoa, okay.
Greene uses this example of two rival Chinese warlords.
Okay.
And one of them kept sparing the other one's life, only to be defeated by him in the end.
So it's like showing mercy can backfire.
Yeah, this one seems a bit ruthless.
It's definitely one of the most controversial laws.
But what's the takeaway for us?
I think it's about recognizing that sometimes you need to be decisive
Okay.
and cut ties with toxic people.
So sometimes it's better to just end the relationship completely.
Exactly. It can be for your own good and for the good of others.
Okay, on to a law that seems a bit more palatable.
All right, what is it?
It's law number 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor.
Interesting.
Greene talks about this Empress Wu,
Okay.
who consolidated her power and then strategically disappeared from public view.
So she was playing hard to get,
Kind of, yeah.
and it worked.
It did. It created this sense of mystery and anticipation.
Oh, I see.
And when she returned, people craved her presence even more.
So it's about controlling your visibility.
Exactly.
Sometimes a strategic withdrawal can make your return more impactful.
Right, like absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Exactly.
Okay, law number 17 is a bit of a wild card.
Okay, I like wild cards.
It's cultivate an air of unpredictability.
Ooh, intriguing.
Greene uses the example of Bobby Fischer again.
The chess player.
Yeah, and how he would make these erratic moves just to unnerve his opponents.
Wow, that's so clever.
Right. It's all about keeping people guessing.
So predictability is boring.
Yeah, and it can make you vulnerable.
But unpredictability keeps people interested and engaged.
It's like that quote, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with BS.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, law number 18 is isolate yourself from your enemies.
That sounds a bit extreme.
Greene uses the example of Louis XIV,
Oh, wow.
who built the Palace of Versailles.
To keep his enemies closer?
Well, not exactly. He wanted to keep his nobles close.
Okay.
And under his control.
So he was isolating himself from potential threats.
Yeah, you could say that.
But what's the takeaway for us?
I think it's about being mindful of the company you keep.
Okay.
You don't have to physically isolate yourself, but it's important to surround yourself with people who support you.
People who share your values.
Exactly.
And avoid those who try to undermine you.
So it's about creating a protective bubble
Yeah, a space where you can thrive.
without being constantly bombarded by negative energy.
Exactly.
Right.
You need to protect your energy.
This has been another fascinating segment.
I agree.
We're starting to see some recurring themes here,
Yeah, what?
like the power of perception, the importance of strategy, and the need to be adaptable.
Absolutely. Those are key themes.
We'll be right back to dive into the final set of laws.
Can't wait.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the 48 laws of power.
All right, let's finish strong.
Okay, so law number 19 is know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person.
That's a good one.
Greene says we shouldn't treat everyone the same
Right.
because some people are more likely to hold a grudge or seek revenge.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He even categorizes people as like wolves, lambs, foxes, and hares.
Okay, that's interesting.
But isn't that a bit judgmental?
I think the point is to be observant.
Okay.
You know, not everyone reacts to things the same way.
Right.
Some people are just more sensitive,
You have to be aware of that. Exactly.
especially in a professional setting.
Right. So it's about reading the room, understanding the different personalities.
Yeah, and tailoring your approach accordingly.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not about being fake.
Right.
It's about being respectful.
Law number 20 is do not commit to anyone.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Greene uses Queen Elizabeth I as an example.
Oh, wow.
She famously refused to marry.
Right, to maintain her power.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So is he saying we should all avoid commitment?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's more about being strategic,
Okay.
not committing too early,
Right.
because it can limit your options.
So keeping your options open.
Exactly.
Okay, law number 21 is play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark.
Ooh, that's a sneaky one.
Right. Is Greene suggesting we should all play dumb?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about strategic deception.
Okay.
Sometimes appearing less intelligent than you are
Mm-hmm.
can disarm your opponent.
So they underestimate you.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like playing possum
Yes. Pretending to be weaker than you are.
to gain an advantage.
Exactly.
Law number 22 is use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power.
Okay, we've talked about this one before.
Right, but Greene really emphasizes this.
Surrender.
Yeah, he says sometimes it's the best move.
But doesn't that seem counterintuitive?
It does, but he uses the example of the Melians.
Okay.
They refused to surrender to the Athenians.
Then they were destroyed.
Exactly.
So surrender can be a strategic move.
Yes, it can buy you time to regroup and plan.
It's not about giving up.
Right.
It's about choosing your battles.
Exactly.
Sometimes retreating is the smartest move.
Okay, law number 23 is concentrate your forces.
Okay, that makes sense.
Greene says we should focus our energy and resources.
On a single objective.
Right.
Don't spread yourself too thin.
Exactly.
Focus is key.
Okay, law number 24 is play the perfect courtier.
What does that mean?
Greene says mastering courtly behavior can help you advance.
Especially in hierarchical environments.
Right.
So it's about understanding social dynamics,
Exactly.
being charming, diplomatic, discreet,
It's like being a social chameleon.
adapting to different situations.
Okay, law number 25 is recreate yourself.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Greene says we should shape our own identities.
Create a persona.
Right.
A brand.
But isn't that being fake?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's about emphasizing certain aspects of your personality
Okay.
that align with your goals.
So it's like being the author of your own story.
Exactly.
Law number 26 is keep your hands clean. Use decoys and scapegoats to disguise your involvement.
Ooh, that sounds a bit shady.
Greene uses this example of a Chinese warlord
Okay.
who blamed a subordinate for his own mistake.
So he was deflecting blame.
Exactly.
That's not cool.
I know, but it happens.
So it's important to be aware of this tactic,
Right.
to recognize when someone is trying to manipulate the situation.
Law number 27 is play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following.
That's an interesting one.
Greene says people have a deep desire to believe in something.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And those who can tap into that need can gain a lot of power.
It's like creating a movement. It's
Exactly.
a shared narrative.
But this can be manipulative.
Yeah, it can be.
So it's important to use this knowledge ethically.
Yes, to inspire and motivate people for good.
Okay. Law number 28 is enter action with boldness.
I like that.
Greene says timidity repels, but boldness attracts.
So be confident and decisive.
Exactly.
Don't hesitate.
Right.
Take action.
Okay, we're almost done.
Wow, time flies.
Law number 29 is plan all the way to the end.
Okay.
And law number 30 is make your accomplishments seem effortless.
So it's about planning and execution.
Yeah, like two sides of the same coin,
You need a clear vision and a detailed plan.
but you also need to make it all look easy.
It's like a swan gliding across the water,
Right, effortless on the surface.
but paddling like crazy underneath.
Law number 31 is control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal.
Okay, that sounds strategic.
Greene says true power lies in controlling the choices available to others,
Interesting.
like in a negotiation.
The person who sets the terms has the advantage.
Exactly.
So it's about framing the debate
Setting the agenda.
and subtly influencing the decision-making process.
Okay, law number 32 is play to people's fantasies.
Ah, I like this one.
Greene says people are drawn to those who offer them an escape from reality.
It's the power of storytelling,
Yeah.
creating a compelling narrative.
Tapping into people's desires and aspirations.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been an incredible journey.
It really has.
We've explored so much about power.
From ancient times to the present day.
What's the key takeaway for you?
I think the key takeaway is that power is everywhere.
That's true.
And understanding how it works is essential.
For achieving your goals.
And navigating the world effectively.
Right.
It's not about being manipulative. Right. It's about making informed choices.
Building stronger relationships.
And creating a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
So use this knowledge wisely.
Okay, so last question.
Okay, sure.
If you had to choose just one of these 48 laws to master, which one would it be?
That's a tough one.
I know, right?
But if I had to choose just one,
Okay.
I think I would go with law number 10.
Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
Exactly.
Why that one?
Because I think it's so important to protect your energy.
Especially in today's world.
Surround yourself with positive people.
People who lift you up.
Exactly.
That's a great choice.
Thanks.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
It went by so fast.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 48 laws of power.
It was a pleasure being here.
We'll be back next week with another fascinating topic.
See you then.
Until then, stay curious, stay strategic, and remember, knowledge is power.